There we
Yes, we're
go.
live. Welcome, friends, to the Gates in Real Life Live. I'm your co-host Heidi with Melissa here, and we're going to talk about Gate 7 today. Has a lot of weird names. The role of self and interaction, the influential leader, the collaborator, but really it's about leadership. So if you feel like you have kind of a sticky relationship with that term or seeing yourself as a leader, especially in your business, we're going to explore that today.
Yeah, definitely. So gate 7 sits in the G center and it's all about the role that you play in a group. Like Heidi said, the role of the self and interaction. That's the official human design name of it. And this gate is future facing and very logical, right? It's like kind of always scanning and asking the question like, is this direction that we're heading still working? Or does something need to shift, right? So people with this gate defined in their chart carry a real conditioning power kind of over the collective. Um in terms of being a leader, but that leadership doesn't necessarily mean that they're the ones like in front of the room, like as a figurehead kind of leader, right? They're often like the influencers of the influencers, kind of like the power behind kind of.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then looking at it through the Gene Keys perspective, we have the shadow of division, which can manifest like most of the shadows, it can kind of manifest in slightly different ways. Like this one, like either kind of like grasping for that authority or kind of handing your power away to someone else, like externally. So it's kind of like the opposite sides of that same coin. So that's the shadow. And then with the gift is guidance in this gene key. So it's here leadership is about service, right? Helping people find their own path instead of them needing to follow your particular path. And then we have the highest frequency of this gene key is the city of virtue, where there is no hierarchy, no followers. It's just people getting free and being free, which is actually quite beautiful. So a lot of richness in today's theme. So looking forward to having a conversation.
Yeah. And for anyone who isn't familiar with our podcast, welcome to our second live episode here on Substack. This is a fun thing that we are experimenting with and probably going to make at least a monthly event. So it gives us a chance to connect with you in a different way. If you have questions about leadership or just thoughts, observations, feel free to put them in the chat. If you're joining live, just go for it. If you're joining later, then I think there's comments somewhere where you can add them, and then we can keep the conversation going.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's the whole point of these lives is to be able to have others kind of participate in the conversation and, share your thoughts and perspectives, as we're doing it as well.
Yeah, and they're pretty casual conversations. We don't script anything. We just show up and follow the energy. So
Definitely.
good human
And there's
design
always there's
style.
always a lot like just a lot of depth in all of these, these are themes that we experience as humans. And so there's always just a lot of depth for us to kind of untangle and dig into. And so that's what makes these conversations so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the topic of leadership. I feel like we've been talking about this off and on it's been a little bit more present recently. And it's definitely something that for me, being an introvert, being someone who really is a little bit of like a misfit rebel, like the way that I thought about leadership was more in the shadow, right? Of this
Mhm.
authoritarian, like influencer, or like not so much influencer, but telling people what to do. That's like the job of being a director of a movie. That's That for me has always been my a night would be my nightmare, right? And so it's been really important for me, I know to have these different perspectives and to redefine what leadership means so that I can recognize it in myself and then help my clients to do the same.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think one of the things that this particular gate has helped me with is like looking at leadership, because it's easy to think like, oh, well, a leader is someone who has all the answers. Like they know what to do and they're going to be the ones to tell you what to do. And this kind of flips the script on that entirely. And it's more like they help you find, which we'll talk about when we get to the guidance part of it. But like leaders, true leaders help you find your own path. They don't make you go down their path.
Mhm. Yeah, and I feel like that uh, is something that a lot, like at least in my industry, work with a lot of people who are more like coaches, wellness providers who have a different desire and energy than maybe a type A person who wants to have a corporation, right?
Mhm.
And to to like I don't want to say come to terms, but to like recognize and claim it, claim their leadership and what that means for them because you inevitably if you're in business long enough inevitably you're becoming more and more of a leader and so there's oftentimes there's a lot of work to do in that process that then it's like oh you arrive definitely someplace different and it helps you access like that flavor of leadership that is yours.
Mhm. Yeah. So let's start because you mentioned earlier, like that you kind of your initial definition of leadership kind of was like a little bit more of like that shadow version. Like, can you talk a little bit more about that and your experience with the shadow, either with yourself or with your clients?
I yeah, what I notice it's like a shying away of wanting to be seen oftentimes. It comes up with visibility because there is a sense of oftentimes well, I wouldn't say leading the way, but you're you're coming from a place where people aren't talking about those things in your day-to-day life often, unless you're lucky, unless you've got, business besties that you can talk about these things with, but like, transformative concepts. And for you to like first feel valid and comfortable, like you have something to say without needing to be have your ego validated. I think that's often like that's kind of the first step I saw in myself and like people who are starting with their businesses. It's like thought leadership. It's like a small step of thought leadership. It's like getting getting your Instagram going, doing your first videos. That's oftentimes it's very scary for people. No, what was that like for you when you started your business?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, you don't necessarily like, when you're first starting, you don't think of yourself as a leader, because like, in the traditional sense, because you're just starting. You're like and you think of the leaders as the ones that have been doing it for a while and that have the, like, credibility to to say X, Y, or Z. But, I mean, being a true leader, like a real leader is, like, actually being a listener. Like, the best leaders are the best listeners, not
Mm,
like I said, not the ones who have the most answers. And so, that's one thing that I found, like, coaches just we tend to be really good listeners, and so, therefore, that gives us the opportunity to be really good leaders. And so, once you have that make that switch in your mind about, like, "Oh, I don't have to have all these credentials, I don't have to have a certain income, I don't have to have,"
mhm.
like, it's like,
Yeah.
make you a
Yeah.
leader? Like,
Yeah.
you can be a leader by being a listener. And I was like, "Oh, okay," like, when I like, that was like an aha for me early on. And that's not like a one and done. I mean, like if only, like, but there's like those little mini ahas that you have about leadership. And as you go, you evolve and you like grow into it, into your leadership a little bit more. But that was kind of part of, part of my
I love
experience.
that. Yeah, I love that. At that time, had you already been gotten involved with human design?
Yes,
Okay.
I had. But you know how sometimes like it's, it's easy to apply it in certain ways and to help others apply it to them, and then when you do it to yours like, it's a whole other thing when it's you and your experiment, right? Like,
Mhm.
so I think, yeah, the practice of it is always the harder the harder part.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's interesting to me how the shadow expression of leadership being that more like trying to force things, have control, be the expert, how that's
Mm.
always naturally been off-putting for me, and that the gift and that what is more desirable and attractive is the energy of the gift without me realizing that that's what it was, right? It's like that just naturally felt like more like that's where that's the expression that I wanted and just kind of discovered along the way, not before I really I think before I understood the human design perspective on things. And then really this
Yeah,
is Gene Keys, like
yeah, that's the Gene
yeah,
Keys more, yeah.
yeah.
But that's so amazing though, like, 'cause, like, they often say that, your body knows before your mind, you just feel it.
Mhm.
It's not like you can necessarily even understand it anyway intellectually, it's like it's a feeling, it's an energy, it's that frequency, and that's why this work is so important is because because it's you feel it as opposed to just knowing it, and there's a big difference there. It's
Yeah,
seems like it's small, but it's actually that's really huge.
yeah. And I think a lot of us, the people that we work with and that we're around, we are like part of that paradigm shift too. So it's like we're in this milieu of trying to redefine it and doing the work of it through our own expression and through helping people to express it. So it's also not as clearly defined what it should
Yes.
look like versus a lot of what we've been modeled. So yeah,
Well, like
welcome Gaia. I see Gaia just joined.
oh, welcome. Yeah,
But
great to see you. Feel free to as we're going along, if you have any thoughts or comments, please feel free to jump in and chat away. Um, it's funny because you just talked about, kind of a new way of looking at things and leading the way with that because yeah, like this shadow here of division is all about hierarchy. Because hierarchies divide, right? And we divide as humans in all different ways, right? There's social division, economic division, racial, political, like all different ways that we classify and divide into different hierarchies. And these hierarchies, I mean, like we operate in them in so many capacities that I mean, even beyond operating, we think in hierarchies. And so what we are doing and others that like that we work with is usually is kind of trying to think outside of that, outside of those systems and that conditioning that we've had, and that's why it's so difficult sometimes is because there aren't any systems that are set up for us to
yeah,
think this way, and all of our conditioning and everything that we've learned along the way has been based on these different ways of dividing ourselves, and we're looking at it more of like, okay, how do we stop that division and guide each other to our own answers versus dictating what everyone's answers should
yeah.
be.
Yeah, and I think this is a plays a big role in why people have been in business for a while and they plateau and it wants to expand, but because we're uncomfortable with the way that we've been modeled, and like we're kind of like thinking about, okay, well, what does expansion mean? What does being a leader mean? It means like the corporate model. Then we're like, oh, but no, that's not it. And so we end up oftentimes it takes a little while where we're in the solopreneur mode. We're like, okay, we're going to do everything ourselves and have like this really tight control kind of shadow, a little bit of that shadow energy of our own business in all aspects. And when we can start to kind of let go and embrace like our own leadership energy, let's see ourselves as thought leaders, as people who can uh, like interact with people, not necessarily delegating, but like at like a different relationship level, it really changes the way that like it increases our capacity to expand and helps us move beyond like feeling a little bit more in that startup mode or mentality.
Mhm. Yeah, that's an interesting, like, when you're talking about, like, that when you're trying to expand and grow, that our first inclination is to look at that corporate model. Right? That
Yeah.
those hierarchies, that division, and then we feel no, like, so there's that disconnect. It's like how we feel versus what we think it should look like. And so, yeah, so this is kind of like taking it like, okay, we need to follow the feeling and find that thing that is outside of that hierarchy, that answer that our mind gave us before, and like, what does this new model say? And that's where, yeah, that's where the
Yeah.
gift starts to come into play a lot more.
A and sometimes it's not like, okay, like a model in terms of like, this is what we should do and how we should organize things. It's just seeing yourself as a leader, as having that capacity to be an influencer or a facilitator.
Yeah, and yeah, like, just redefining leadership beyond what the collective has defined it as.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So there was multiple mentions in the Gene Keys where that he was talking or Sherwood was talking about how the mass consciousness is what, like, elects the leaders or to, like, kind of
Mhm.
the leaders that we see are those that the mass consciousness is vibrating at, like, it's that same energy. So, that's also very, very interesting because it means that there are other quote unquote models out there, but because like the general vibration has been in the shadow, we don't it's harder to see them.
Yes, exactly. Like, it's like attracts like, right? And so
Yeah.
if you have, like, the collective operating at that lower frequency, they're going to attract a lower frequency leader to magnetize, like, and then I
Imagine that.
Hmm. Any case studies that you're aware of, Heidi? But that's the thing though, is that, I mean, even in politics, like, like, that's another way of, like, dividing us. And so, like, then, okay, how can we even move beyond that? Like, going into more of that guidance frequency and the gift frequency, and like, okay, how do we move through that? And it starts with us as individuals, right? Like, we have to get to that gift frequency before we can expect anyone else to be at that gift frequency. And, like,
Mhm.
if we get there, that can help get others see
Yeah.
another option,
Yeah.
and yeah, help, like, as opposed to just complaining about.
Yeah, I mean, this is another like this is why our businesses, they're like as a personal and spiritual growth journey. Yes, we're trying to make money so that we can, pay our bills and whatnot. But we're also, as we're going through this process, like we're contributing to this larger transformation. It's so cool.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And it also helps you to, like, anytime like, it helps when I see myself in the shadow, the pro or the benefit of that is that I can then have compassion when I'm not in the shadow. I try to keep that, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
the and one of the things that I believe it was Richard Rudd who said it as well, he's talking about, like, the it's not like victim and perpetrator, right? Or, like, the villain and the prey, like, the 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 leaders that are in that low frequency are the same as the people who follow them in the low they're all in that same frequency. It's just a different expression of that frequency, and kinda like we were just saying, like, we can help them both or all of them and ourselves by taking ultimate like, that radical responsibility for ourselves and our own frequency based on the actions we take, the thoughts we think, the way that we show up.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd love to hear an example of what that looks like on a Thursday morning.
What does that
Tomorrow.
show?
Today.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Well, we talked about, that true leadership being a listener. Like, and so I think when I think of someone who is just like a really good listener, that means they're listening. Like, why are they listening? They're listening because they want to ultimately be of service. It's like just like
Yeah.
instead of being that leader that's up front to just for the sake of being the one that's up front leading, it's being like, how can I s support? How can I be of service? And so I think, bringing that energy into a Thursday or, like whatever, a
Mhm.
call or even the content that we're writing or, wherever it is that we're showing up, even if it's outside of our businesses with our families and our relationships and, even with ourselves,
Yeah.
like being of service, I think is a way to kind of bring it into the practical.
Yeah. And especially if you find yourself feeling a bit constricted, like worrying about money, about signing a client, whatever, that like just asking a question like how can I be of service can help you shift your energy, definitely shift your focus, and then apply that to whatever it is that you're doing.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And another aspect of the guidance and the gift frequency is also looking towards the future, not in a like to avoid the present so much, but just like it's a gift, if you have this defined in your chart, like you have that ability to kind of like see if that direction that society is moving needs to be corrected or
Mhm.
to get to that future. And so
Mhm.
that there is that like almost vision, not so much setting necessarily, just seeing the vision and holding the vision. I think there's an element of that I think is really cool, and that's hard to do, right? Like, especially if that vision is something very different from where we currently are. It's because it's easy to kinda get, sucked into, like, the current,
Mhm.
like, of everything, and so if, like, you have something that's very different, like, holding that takes leadership like, that, like, true, like, leadership energy.
Mhm. I've been reading the Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. Are you
Okay.
familiar with that
I know
concept?
Simon I know some of his work, I haven't read that book. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he explores this with the idea that the finite game is an approach to leadership that is looking at the short term, at establishing like KPIs and goals and whatever. And okay, like we get there and we're competing with other
Mm,
people versus the infinite game, which is you're not competing with other people. You're just trying to be the best that you can be. You're trying to serve, and it's not success isn't measured by your KPIs or your goals for like money making, but rather is like, are you continuing to work towards that vision and
mhm.
stay in the game infinitely?
Yeah. Oh, I think I might need to read that. I like that. It has a it's very similar to, like, what we talked about before, like, that kind of almost that masculine energy versus the feminine energy, right? Like,
Yeah,
that, like,
yeah.
not that there's anything wrong with the KPIs and the measuring and, the statistics, um, but that in exclusion of that other side of it, you it just g we're not designed that way, and so it's not gonna
Right.
be fulfilling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it reduces the work to be something transactional when you can do the same work, but have a vision, have something that you believe in, that imbibes your work with, like, passion and dedication and reward that is so much more than just making your salary.
Right. Yeah. And you're talking about, staying in the game. I think that's a big thing that, eh, you know, especially if we're talking about coaches or entrepreneurs, is like that's in order to the ideal
Mhm.
is to stay in the game.
Yes.
And and it's very easy to get knocked out when you don't have that passion or that compelling why, or
Yeah.
you're not connected to the reason, like, just very, like, I foundationally and intimately, because otherwise it's easy to get distracted by those KPIs that you're not meeting, or that session that
Oh,
didn't go,
yeah.
or, fill in the blank.
Yes, I have been through this many times, and I'm still here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, it is, and that's all, even though when you're going through those kind of down cycles or whatever you wanna call them, they're uncomfortable, but they're unavoidable. I don't think that they're avoidable, and we like to think that,
Yeah.
that entrepreneurship is just like this, like, oh, like, it's just constant up, 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 and has not been my experience. Even within the same day, it can be
Right? Yeah.
like, so inspired and then in tears, and then
Yeah. Yet here we are.
here we are. And you ultimately end up finding a way to kind of laugh about it.
Mhm. Yeah, in that experience, it gives you the wisdom that
Mm.
that then helps you to step into your leadership, your version of leadership.
Yeah. I like how you talk about, wisdom, because, a lot of, like, kind of like, I don't know if superficial leader is quite the right word, but, like, leaders as they're, like, more traditionally defined, I think sometimes don't necessarily have that wisdom, if that makes sense. Like, they
Mhm.
may have
Mhm.
the
Charisma.
kinetic charisma. Yeah, they might be the ones that
Yeah.
are, confident talking in front of groups, but they don't necessarily have the wisdom and the knowledge and like that the kind of to back it up.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I used to coach introverts. Like, I was like focused on confidence
Mhm.
coaching for introverts, and this kind of conversation was pretty common where, because as an introvert or sensitive person, you're not that like influencer, the extrovert that can just talk at a party, then there's oftentimes, without meaning to, you kind of put yourself in the role of, well, I can't be that, so I'm not a leader. But it's so interesting how the gift is really a lot of characteristics of the introvert. to to be a
Yeah,
listener,
yeah.
to not want to have the power, but to empower people.
Yes. Yeah, it's like, where is that power coming from? Are you forcing it or are you inspiring it? Like,
Yeah,
and that's kinda like the difference between, yeah, that the shadow and the gift. And most of our society is in that lower frequency, and so what we're used to
yeah.
seeing is, that power through force, that power through having the saying you have the answer, whether or not you do or not, you think you do, um, versus, inspiring people to find their own answers, even if that's completely different from the way everyone else does it.
Mhm. Mhm. Mm. There was a quote that I wrote down from the Gene Keys, that is, it's for these people, and right here I'm thinking about introverts, to step into leadership, they must first recognize the power within themselves.
Mhm. Yeah,
I love that.
that's beautiful. And ultimately, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing, isn't it? Like, we go outside to try to find the power and the answer
Mhm.
and the authority, and it's within us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of a journey, though, and that's even probably kinda like the hero's journey, right? Like, said a little slightly differently, but, like, we go out on this big quest. We fight all these battles, and then, like, all of a sudden and we end up right right where we belong with our back home with ourselves.
Mhm.
I
Oh
mean,
gosh.
yeah, the power is within. So how about virtue? I know sometimes talking about the city is a little bit dicey just because it's just so, like, beyond, but did anything jump out at you in the reading of that or
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting how the, so the virtuous acts,
Mhm.
how just their existence helps to, like, elevate everyone, even if we don't recognize it.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was kinda cool too, like, yeah, those virtuous acts is almost like, um, you're helping the world even in just, like, these tiny little ways, but meaningful ways.
Yeah, and I wrote down that, he talks about it as repairing the world.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's
that's a
cool.
nice little
Mhm.
thought to think that anytime that you're acting virtuously, you're repairing the world, and then what would you consider acting virtuously?
Ugh.
Put you on the spot.
I know, it's so like, I don't know if there's anything different than like a stereotyped s version of, I don't know, like paying for being an anonymous donor for something, for helping someone, with their Kickstarter, or, they've had a medical issue, or, like, things like that where you're just like, you're contributing without any need for recognition. No.
Yeah,
How about
yeah,
you?
yeah, the way w and no, it is hard, like, with the cities, like, what is that what does that even mean? Because virtue, you know, as Richard Rudd usually uses the words, they usually have their own kind of unique meaning, and so if I ever have a hard time understanding, like, what it might be, and I just go back to the gift and then just be like, "That to the nth power." Like like,
Uh-huh.
being of service, like, and the highest version of that, and, like, what would that look like? And because yeah, I think that it isn't I mean, it can be a behavior, but I think at the civic level, it's more of like that just that frequency of, um, yeah, that being a listener, being of service.
Mhm.
There's actually a thing in there he said, I don't know if it were Richard Rudd said it or if he was quoting someone else, but he's saying, like, the secret to virtue lies in complete surrender to nature. And I'm like, "Oh, there's that word again, surrender." Like, it just finds its way into every one of these conversations.
Mm.
And I'm like, "I know that's for me." That is just something that has been, like, part of my journey and I'm trying to find new ways and new, like, layers to surrender new things to, like, let go of and to surrender, um but I know that I haven't fully because I keep these kinds of things keep popping up. I'm like, "Okay." there's something more that I need to surrender.
Mm, what could that be?
Oh, it could be so many things. I mean, I think I think the ultimate thing is similar to what we're talking about here is, like, surrendering into that new definition, not necessarily of leadership
Mhm,
specifically, just that new vision, that new way of living,
mhm,
surrendering to my belief in that, because I really do truly believe that that's the future, and but it's really hard to, like, hold that vision when we don't have a lot of people doing that or talking about that, and so then how can I, like, yeah, and I don't even know what that means, and maybe I'm not meant to know, like, maybe it's not something that my mind can
yeah,
figure out,
yeah,
but
yeah,
then I don't really know what to do with that.
yeah, where I come back to is that it's like, because yeah, because 'cause we're looking for proof. Like, yes, like, this is the right thing, this is working or whatever, but I think that, like, the proof, it's in the internal shift, you know, where I can be, I've been practicing this a lot where, maybe I'm doing something that is a little bit like I'm painting, a house, and it's a little bit repetitive, right? And there's a point where the brain can start to go to contraction, and then there's an like or be like, "Oh my gosh, like, I'm alive on this day. What a glorious moment. I can see the nature. I am here, with myself. I have like I can and like kind of switch into a different vibration." And that right there, that ability, that capacity, it's like, okay, that changes my whole experience. And the vision for the business and all these, like, becoming a leader, like, I don't really know how to do that, like the step by step, do A, B, C, and then that equals D, and then you're done. But I experienced the shift in energy. And that is good. So just more of that, surrender, trust.
Surrender to that. Oh, I know, it's easy or it's hard not to fall into that trap of, like, wanting that nice little step-by-step framework, of surrendering and getting to that, to that ultimate feeling, and yeah, it's letting the body lead the way, and even that is, like, your brain wants to be like, "Okay, well, how?" Because the mind,
Mhm,
it wants that certainty, and our bodies want comfort, and being a human, being an entrepreneur is uncertain and uncomfortable. So, lucky us.
mhm.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, and that's showing the way, like the door, the portal for the
Mhm.
expansion
Mm.
of 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 your leadership energy, of all of the self-realization.
Yeah. I like the word portal. Like, it feels like it's going somewhere very distinct and different and better.
Yeah,
And not better like,
yeah,
hierarchically better, but just, like, more correct and more expansive and, like,
yeah, like full
yeah.
versus in our little contracted,
Yeah. Yeah.
highly defined and controlled space.
Yeah. And that it can mean different things for different people. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, yeah, your version of fullness might look different than my version of fullness, but they're both fullness.
Mhm. Yeah, and being a leader in your business. Like, what does that mean to you? Like, what yeah, to you, Melissa, what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, today, it means holding the vision. That's how I am defining it, is, like, holding that vision that I kinda talked about earlier, even though it seems uncertain and scary, and, like, and I don't know for a fact that that is the way to go. Like, I have
Mhm.
very little evidence. It's just more of, like, a feeling, and it's yeah, so that's the part that's really difficult for me after decades of being very like, logical and cerebral to, like, "Oh, I'm going with this feeling, and I'm holding the vision." Like, it just sounds so, like, out there. Like, "Okay, you just hold that vision," but, like, uh but, like, what like, the upside, if that is correct, is, like, just, like, inexplicable, really, I think. Like, it can
Mhm.
mean that be the difference between, that new earth, that vision that people talk about and where we are today. And so it's almost like, it's kind of maybe it's worth the risk of being wrong,
Mhm.
of, whatever.
Mhm. Yeah.
How about you? Do you have a particular definition of leadership for yourself and in your
Uh,
how you see yourself?
like, for me right now, it's, so self-doubt has always been, like, that's one of my things, and the default, it just kinda turns on sometimes, and so that constricts me so that my skills, my genius, my light is not available for the people that I serve as, that kind of so for me, in order to, like, be the most effective and helpful for my people, like, just, like, step into it, right? To stop believing the self-doubt or, like, I recognize it now, I've done so much work, and so now it's like, okay, energetically, like, what does that look like? Like, right now with relationships, I'm like, anywhere there's resistance, I'm looking at why,
Mm,
like, where that's coming from and, like, what is like, is there a portal there? And then trying to, like, show up and, like, I for anyone who's listening, like, my body, I'm, like, physically, like, moving forward towards the screen and opening the chest and, like, letting it's like in yoga where you should, like, let your heart shine. So, like, moving into that energy in my communication, both in just like content and then in conversations with clients and other people.
mm, mhm. So, yeah, so it's interesting, like, we both have that, like, almost like leading with the body, like, what is the body leaning towards? What is the body like yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and it's not it's scary.
it is.
Like it's like being on on the edge there, but it's an amazing view.
Come to the edge with us. It won't be as scary if we all go together, right?
Oh, I know. It's not. I know. And really, really so many of us are on a similar journey. So yeah, we're not alone.
We're not alone. This is true. This is true. We're all in it together for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Well, Gaia, do you have anything that you want to add? You're still listening? Feel free to jump in with any thoughts that you have. If you have any point of view on how you show up as a leader, and if not, we will kind of do our usual wrap. We like to leave we like to leave these our podcast listeners with a little something to kind of think about, some sort of like reflection. And so, yeah, so mine would be just because it was so impactful for me when in the reading was like how how does or what can you surrender to be a better leader? And I ask that question mostly because I think that that's a good question for me to contemplate.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I love that question so much, um, and, like, what is being a leader for you? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Knowing that, like, you are a leader, and so what does that look like? What does that
Right,
feel
yeah,
like?
claiming it for sure.
Claiming it. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, being able to define it for yourself and not necessarily accepting anyone else's, even our definition of
Mhm.
it.
Mhm. Absolutely. Awesome.
Beautiful stuff. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah, thank you so much, Melissa. So we will have this on our usual podcast feed, which comes out Thursday mornings, West Coast time in the States. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll probably do this next month. So if you're not on Substack already, come over, come join us. We should have our links in the show notes. We're both of us. We're on there quite a bit with lots of human design and business thoughts and articles and conversation.
Yeah, we'd love to see you over on Substack.
Mhm. All right, friends. Take care. Have a beautiful night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Trying to find the little end button.